If I took away your job title, your certifications, your role in your family, would you still know who you are? We're living through a time of war headlines, economic tension, AI disruption, and what global risk experts are calling an age of competition, where uncertainty is no longer a brief crisis, but a constant background condition. In that kind of world, many of us cling to one thing we can control: our work, our usefulness, our performance, our status. This video is for you if some part of you feels exhausted or hollow inside your role, and you sense that who you are has been reduced to what you do. Be sure to stay until the end because I'll guide you through 5 questions you can keep returning to whenever the world feels shaky and your identity feels fragile. Save this video for later. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next episode in this Threshold series. Hello, I'm Dr. RB. I'm a licensed psychologist in Florida and New York. And if you're returning, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found your way. This channel is a sacred space where depth psychology meets ancient wisdom, where spirituality, human design, and therapeutic tools come together to guide personal transformation. My mission is to help you reconnect with your authentic self and divine guidance so you can navigate this rapidly changing world with clarity, purpose, and peace. This episode is part of my series on transformational thresholds. What happens when life forces you to change and how to cross that threshold consciously. If you're at a threshold and need one-on-one clarity, I also offer 90-minute threshold sessions. You can find the link below in my description. Let's start with the environment we're all in. Global risk reports for 2026 describe an age of competition, rising geopolitical confrontation, economic instability, and a weakening international cooperation. Analysts talk about war, economic and technological rivalry, and a world that feels more fragmented and contested than it has in decades. At the same time, groups like Eurasia Group describe a kind of political revolution in the United States and a shift towards a more multipolar order, with the U.S. renegotiating its role in the system it once built. Many countries and companies are being forced to revisit the stories they tell about who they are in the world. Inside workplaces, large mental health reports are finding a silent burnout crisis, surging leaves, high stress, and employees who are present in body but checked out emotionally. And that's been going on for the last few years. Financial strain, AI pressure, and constant change are amplifying anxiety for both employees and leaders. So if you feel tired and on edge, that is not a personal failure. It's your nervous system responding to a genuinely unstable world. In that world, it makes sense to cling to what seems controllable: your role, your achievements, your ability to be useful. But when useful becomes your entire identity, thresholds become terrifying. In psychology, identity foreclosure is when we decide early, I am the responsible one, the high achiever, the fixer, and we never really explore beyond that. We also develop a performance self, the version of us that is lovable because it produces, impresses, or rescues. That performance self may have helped you survive, succeed, or immigrate. But when your identity fuses with it, any threat of your role restructuring, AI, illness, feels like a threat to your existence. Rest feels dangerous because you only know yourself as the one who does. Desire goes offline. You know what you are needed for, but not what you actually want. Then life brings thresholds: a layoff, a promotion that leaves you numb, move, a divorce, a health scare, a shift in your industry or country. If your whole sense of self is, I am what I do, those moments feel like annihilation instead of initiation. The invitation of a threshold is, who am I beneath what I do? That's what these 5 questions will explore. So let's get to them. These are not just quick journaling prompts to rush through, they're doorways into a deeper conversation with your soul. Here's how to use them. Pause the video after each question. Write your responses by hand. Some were private. Answer as if no one will ever read them. Think of this as opening windows in a house you've kept shut for years. Today isn't about renovating the whole house. It's about letting light and air in. We're all living in forces bigger than us: war, politics, economics, and AI. These questions are not about withdrawing from the world. They're about giving you a self that doesn't shatter every time the headline changes. So here's the first question. When nobody needs anything from you, who are you drawn to be? Most of us know ourselves only in relation to other people's needs, as the employee, the parent, the partner, the leader. So imagine just for a moment a space where no one needs anything from you. They don't need your email, no messages, no caregiving. Who is there? Maybe you're drawn to be quiet and observant, maybe playful and silly. Maybe you're the person who walks, writes, prays, or simply listens. This question reveals your spontaneous self, the part of you that shows up when obligation loosens. In a culture that demands you be on and competitive, letting that self surface is an act of reclaiming your humanity. Pause now if you can, and I want you to write what you notice. Here's the second question. What kind of pain do you feel most called to tend in the world, and why that pain? Living through collective pain, wars, displacement, economic fear, political division, climate disruption, and rising anxiety and depression worldwide. You're not meant to heal all of it. Maybe you feel called to the pain of burnout in helpers and leaders. Maybe you're drawn to people in identity transitions. Maybe it's financial stress, climate grief, or chronic illness. Often the pain you're called to is the pain you've known. This question shifts identity from I am what I produce to I am someone whose presence can meet this kind of suffering with wisdom and care. In a world organized around competition and confrontation, this becomes your soul's orientation point. Pause now and write what pain calls you and what story sits under that calling. Here's the third question. What did you have to become in order to be good or successful in your family of origin? And who did you have to hide? Families reward certain roles: the achiever, the peacemaker, the caretaker, the invisible one. We learn if I become this, I'm safe. If I become this, I'm loved. Those roles often become our professional identities. The fixer becomes the crisis manager. The peacemaker becomes the conflict avoidant leader. The caretaker becomes the people first boss who quietly burns out. Right now, the US itself is renegotiating its identity and role in the world. Europe and other regions are doing the same under pressure. In a way, many nations are doing what we're talking about here, questioning the roles they've adopted to survive a previous era. On a personal level, naming the role you became and the self you hid is the beginning of a more honest identity. Pause and see if you can name both. Here's question 4. If you could not introduce yourself by what you do, how would you introduce yourself? Imagine a room where no one is allowed to say their job or status. What would you say? Maybe you lead with values. I'm someone who cares deeply about honesty and beauty. Maybe your way of being, I'm the kind of person who always ends up asking deeper questions. Maybe with your current transformation, I'm someone learning to live more slowly and more truthfully. In a metric driven global economy, this is gentle rebellion. It loosens the grip of identity built purely on output. Write one or two I'm someone who sentences, and they can evolve over time. This is your fifth question. What parts of you are tired of performing? and what parts are quietly asking to come home. Burnout is often one narrow persona carrying your whole life. The always available leader, the endlessly compassionate helper, the parent who never has needs. Global workplace reports show many people still showing up but emotionally depleted, a silent burnout that's becoming the norm. List the roles that feel like costumes and then ask, what's been exiled? Maybe it's more creative, messy, or a playful part of you. Maybe it's the part that doesn't have to be impressive. In a world oriented around competition and constant crisis response, welcoming these exiled parts back is a radical reclaiming of yourself. Pause and name what's tired and what wants to return. Integrating your answers in a world on edge, let's bring this together in a simple way. First, try a small weekly roll fast. Pick a realistic window, even 1 hour, where you consciously step out of your main role. You're not the executive, you're not the psychologist, you're not the parent or the fixer. You're simply a human being, noticing what you like, feel, and need. Second, refine your identity sentence. Take one. I am someone who line and place it where you'll see it often. Let it be a gentle compass, not a cage. It can evolve as you move through the Threshold series. Bring this into relationship. Share one insight with a trusted person, a friend, a partner, spiritual director, a therapist, whoever you trust. Something like, I realized I built my identity around being useful, and I'm not sure who I am beyond that. Identity transforms an honest, regulated relationship. And finally, care for your nervous system. Risk reports suggest that instability isn't going away. Great. Workplace and health reports show rising anxiety, depression, financial stress, and burnout worldwide. You cannot fix the global system, but you can limit your exposure to constant crisis, less doom scrolling, more time in your body, with nature, with people who you feel like yourself. That's not avoidance. It's how you create enough inner stability to meet an unstable world with presence. Today, we explored 5 questions to help you discover who you are beneath what you do. In the midst of a U.S. and global landscape that's also renegotiating its identity. If one question stayed with you, keep it close this week and let it work in the background. If you're at a threshold in your career, relationships, geography, or health, and you sense your old identity no longer fits, again, I offer a 90-minute threshold session to help you find clarity and next steps. You'll find the links below in the description if you want to go deeper. If today's message really resonated, I invite you to subscribe, like, or share. It really helps this work reach those who need it the most. We're going to need people in this era who identify as not built on constant crisis response, but on clarity, passion, and much soul. If that resonates, then this threshold you're in is not a mistake. It's a preparation. You're guided, you're loved, and your path is sacred. Take good care of your soul.